our regular session back to order, and please stand for the pledge. Ready to begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There is no report on closed session this evening. I will motion to adopt the agenda, please.
So moved.
Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
Just a minor edit to 12A. It should reflect March 12th, not February 26th for the full events.
Okay, so on T2, right?
Yeah.
All in favor of the agenda as presented?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 401. We have no recognitions this evening, so our first item is public comment on non-agenda items. And the instructions are provided with each copy of the printed copies. So if you would please, if you could fill out a blue card, that's for helps with our records and recording the meeting for the minutes. And the speakers have a 3-minute time, so please watch your time. And again, these are items that are not on the agenda. Are there? Okay. This is for Anne Morelli. Thank you.
Hi, Anne Moriali.
Excuse me.
I'm a parent of 2 students in Laguna Beach. And I'm speaking for several parents who are not comfortable coming here before the board and speaking. I and other parents submitted an agenda item for board bylaw 9233 for consideration by the superintendent and board president to be placed on this agenda tonight. That did not happen as we requested. We asked for a clear understanding on the Laguna Beach High School grade weighting policy affecting our students. Currently, students are being advised away from honors courses. Many who could have received the additional grade weight for honors chemistry. Mine was one of them. I was furious because the teacher actually said to the class several times, you're better off taking the lesser work class, getting a higher grade, instead of encouraging them to try harder and achieve more. They're being talked out of it. Other students have the additional grade weight as seniors for some classes, but juniors do not, and did not know that if they took honors chemistry, they would receive it. This is an administrative issue, we believe, because there has been confusion about that. In addition, this board made a decision to align to the UC grade weighting policy in February of 2016 without complete analysis of the impact on student merit-based scholarships and the impact on students who may attend out-of-state and private universities. A lot of scholarships just say grade point average. Some say class rank, yeah. Sorry, thank you. So they're all different. Stakeholders, students, and parents were not surveyed regarding this change in 2016. This, as you know, is the best way about making significant changes. Honor students feel demoralized by the fact that students in non-honor classes have higher GPAs sometimes, and advanced students are being encouraged to drop the honors courses or not enroll in honors coursework. As I said, I have experience with that. Why would the board and the school want to take away possibilities and discourage students from excelling at the expense of aligning to one college system? What other Orange County districts have implemented a similar policy? Why do we want to limit our students' potential when other districts are not? We don't live in a silo, right? We should be going along with what a lot of other school districts are doing. We ask that the board do appropriate stakeholder feedback and reconsider this policy. Aligning to the UC is not required, as 30% of our students go to UCs. We also discourage the proposed change to the bylaw about not listening to items anymore that you've already made a decision about. You should be able to revisit bad decisions or sometimes mistakes. Nobody's perfect, right? Thank you.
Mark Nelson?
Hi, my name is Mark Nelson. I have 3 children in the district. I've attended Elmore for about 3 years at the elementary level. I've also attended, currently at Top of the World. Been on the parent advisory committee at both schools, currently at this one right now. And some of my concerns are, we have rabid dogs running through the campuses. I'm at the campus on a daily basis. This morning there was a large amount of feces as the kids were walking in. I've taken pictures where dogs are being walked right by our children as they're attending school. There are a lot of gates that are left open at the high school past the morning. And I just feel strongly that an SRO presence at each school would make a big difference. There are other districts that do this. One of the things I might recommend for costs and budgets is to maybe look at beach patrol. They have the ability to arrest. They can wear vests. They have pepper spray. They have handcuffs. If they take an additional class, they're allowed to carry a firearm. The SRO could oversee them. They're probably somewhere around, before benefits, to advertise 50 to 70-ish. We could reimburse the city for that. One of the times when I was out at El Moro, the SRO I think is a great addition to the district, but it can't be 4 places at all times. So I stopped out to El Moro to see a parent. I was out there and the custodians were manning guard. And there was a gentleman that went towards the kindergarten fence, and he was roaming throughout the parking lot. And they were standing out there in guard. By the time the SRO got out there, he actually stopped the individual off the bus, past Newport Coast, going into Corona Del Mar. I just feel strongly that's something we should look at, possibly putting on the agenda. I was just at Thurston for a soccer practice with my son, and there were dogs just roaming all over the Thurston off leash. And while kids were there, while the high school was there doing softball. This is something I think that really could add value, whether it's an SRO at each school, or whether we hire somebody, say Beach Patrol, and reimburse the city. It's something I'd really like to encourage you to really deeply look at for the safety of our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Kling?
I'm Christopher Kling, resident and small business owner. My neighbors and customers are talking most about our school board's bad example to kids, not following rules or being fair to others. Everyone knows denying D. Perry equal participation and retaliation by the superintendent and board, all because you can't tolerate one independent voice. Stop pretending retaliation is not real. The superintendent and board have asymmetric power because parents will choose children over freedom of speech. I don't have children. It is sad to think that if I did, surrendering civic freedom might be necessary to protect my freedom. Speaking for those with good reason not to be here, let's just take 3 of many examples. 1, the superintendent allowed board member Wolf to create a false public record using LBUSD seal and letterhead. It warned a targeted citizen not to meet with board member Perry, absurdly alleging violation of board rules. The offense targeted was public comments at a board meeting on a topic the superintendent didn't want discussed at that forum. Perry did not violate board rules. The superintendent and Wolf did. Number 2, the superintendent asked a court of law to publicly name a minor student in a lawsuit against the district. The court rejected intimidation tactics targeting a minor in retaliation for the lawsuit. The court also ruled superintendent exceeded authority. No legitimate public interest is served by retaliatory appeal, now costing more than any possible outcome. Number 3, math professionals and academics and parent community who oppose math curriculum changes proposed by the superintendent were identified and held up to public ridicule and video produced and distributed using school staff and funding. One parent's employer was contacted by the superintendent seeking to restrain free speech. Experimental math failed, sadly, at the expense of hundreds of students over a period of years. Supposedly satirical and funny acts of retaliation traumatically impacted parents and students. So let's stop pretending the emperor has no clothes, retaliation is real, comes from the top down, and occurs on every campus. Finally, a superintendent can propose, but elected representative must approve, revise, and disapprove agenda. If staff has agenda veto, board approves 99% of a staff agenda, why do we need a board anyways? All powers of superintendent are delegated at pleasure of board. The board remains legally responsible and liable for all acts of staff, as we know from lawsuits taking funds from classrooms. As things stand now, our schools are excellent despite not because of our school board. Thank you to teachers, parents, students, and classified employees.
Michelle Monda.
Thank you for your attention tonight, because the last time I spoke before this group, 2 of you chose not to pay any attention to what I was saying. I think what the board is doing is anti-student. You say you're for the students, but every single action you've taken is counter to that. You're trying to shut down parent voices by holding meetings on Monday mornings at 8 a.m. when people are working. You give as little notice as possible, they're legal notices, but as little as possible for your meetings. You don't record them, that's even more fun because now there's no record. And yet it is in these meetings that you're discussing policy issues. With no one to watch you, who knows what mischief you're up to, and you certainly will not be held accountable like ghosts. You refuse to revisit issues that have been discussed previously, despite new information. I believe an earlier speaker also alluded to that. You refuse to allow any dissenting views to be made public. You revise your bylaws that you don't like what they would force you to do. And you know I'm specifically talking about the deep parent issue. You have given up your right that is in the bylaws that have existed for a very long time to set the agenda for the board meetings. You've given that up to the superintendent. The superintendent works for you, not the other way around. You've given up your authority. How is that helping the kids? You should be advocates for students and parents, not the administration. How about actually behaving like a responsible body and delving into these issues that parents and students want? How about having meetings with them to see what you can do better to support them? How about not silencing dissenting voices by dismissing them? They have important information to share with you, but you never know because you just want to shut them up. How about holding the administration accountable to do their jobs and not hiring consultants after consultants to do it for them? I was here when you ignored putting a new student constitution on the agenda. You've ignored parents on the calendar. You've ignored parents on issues of the AP grade bumps. Another parent spoke about that. Start being more responsible to your constituents. Parents, be alert for the next school board elections and hold these members accountable to what you want. Thank you.
Emil Monda.
You can entitle what I'm about to say decency. My name is Emil Monda. I'm the president of the Boonton Beach Republicans. I'd like to address you today with some historical perspective on the use and abuse of power. I'll be brief. This board and the superintendent have decided that marginalizing one member wasn't enough. You had to be sure to use your power to censure her and disenfranchise the nearly 6,000 people that voted for her. Now, I'd like to take you back to 1954, June 9th. Now, I was only 9 years old, and I know some of you weren't born yet, probably most of you weren't born yet. It was an era of the Red Scare. Hearings were being held by Senator Joseph McCarthy as he took on his mission to root out communists in the government who were loyal to the Soviet Union. The most important tactic was to use labels to discredit people in their careers. With this as a backdrop, there was an exchange between Senator McCarthy and Joseph N. Welch, a lawyer for the U.S. Army. McCarthy insisted on maligning a young lawyer who was considered but not selected to work on these matters. As a young person, this lawyer had worked for an organization associated with the Communist Party. Despite the fact that this lawyer had not been chosen to work for Mr. Welch, Senator McCarthy named him and almost ruined his life. Mr. Welch, while testifying, rebuked Senator McCarthy in what has become a classic moment in the history of free speech. He said, "Senator, that knew no sense of decency, sir." Why do I tell this story? As a board, you've decided to attack and silence one of your own members. To do this, you have rewritten the bylaws for this organization to ensure that the only majority's point of view is not only enforced in the voting process, but even worse, you're making it difficult for the public to comment on what you have done. Not only with the bylaw changes, but in the treatment of a good and decent person who from the day she was elected for the first time was an advocate for the betterment of the students. All of this only makes sense if you decided that this good person is worthy of your contempt. Therefore, she must be silenced, censured, marginalized. So now I ask this board the same question that Mr. Welch asked Senator McCarthy in 1954. Board members, superintendent, you've done enough. Have you no sense of decency at long last? Have you left no sense of decency? That was the beginning of the end of Senator McCarthy's public career. It is my hope that those hearing my questions over the air consider whether you board members should have a future overseeing the Laguna Beach Unified School District.
Sherry Morgan?
Hello. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm a mushroom. You know how they grow mushrooms? In dirt covered by manure. And it's really not okay. And it started way back with the calendar. And there was a moment where I felt really honored to be a part of the committee until we came out of committee and I was against the decision, not starting and ending, but what was in the middle. And when I voiced my concern to Board Member Normandin, I was told, well, you can't say anything, you're on the committee. You approved that. And I was very adamant, no, I did not. I was the voice of the community, and I'm sure the community is going to push back on this. And then I went silent to wait and see what the community said. When we walked in the very first day, I looked at Superintendent Valori and I said, well, this is going to be fun. I don't think you're taking into consideration what the community's really going to feel. And you said it doesn't matter, it's all about the kids. And I'm truly disappointed because I'm a huge fan of yours, and I was. Now I'm not 100% sure. I still like you personally, but I'm not sure I really like what you're doing to our district. Because we think we're a bunch of mushrooms. Now, you have the high school kids choosing their schedule for next year. You're telling them that they have to have sports 6 period. If they want to add an academic period, they have to have a 0 period. When we ask them, what time is that going to be? Oh, I don't know. They haven't decided the bell schedule yet. Mushrooms. Are you kidding me? You guys are elected officials. There are your friends in the crowd, your friends' children. And you're treating us like we're mushrooms. What you're doing to the bylaws and to shut somebody down so they can't have their opportunity to have a voice to represent our community equally is disappointing because I voted for every one of you. And where's our other person here? I mean, this is ridiculous. You want to know why all these people are here is because you have disappointed them. And I haven't been here in a long time because I didn't think I needed to, because I was one of your original watchdogs the last time they tried to pass the calendar. I thought we were in good hands. I'm really disappointed. You guys can do much better. You owe us to do better. It is not your job to let him have free rein. It is your job to support your community and what is right for our kids. Not what is right for his resume, what is right for our community and our kids. And I don't think it's starting before Labor Day, but that's supposedly to you old news, but it's not, because that's where the mushroom crap started. And they fooled all of you by letting you think that, hey, this is really good, but I know that it was said, well, this is good because now we've got the calendar passed, other things can be passed too. Shame on all of you.
Amy Kramer?
Good evening, I'm Amy Kramer, I'm a parent in the district. I have 2 kids who've graduated from LBHS, and I currently have a 6th grader at the middle school. And I just recently submitted a request for documents about the academic task force concerning the honors grading policy. And the reason why is because I'd really like to look at all of the information and figure out some things, because I think that this decision needs further consideration. And I also think it should be possibly retroactive action for the current juniors who will be graduating in 2021. That's the right year. And the reason why, a couple of different reasons, is one, the grading policy puts limitations on students who would otherwise qualify for merit scholarships at schools that take weighted GPAs. My daughter did receive a very nice scholarship at a private school with a very hefty weighted GPA. And I know she wouldn't have received it otherwise. And I think there are a lot of students out there who would benefit from the merit part of this. Also, basing the honors class grading on what the UC system approves or disapproves, in my opinion, is not necessary. And I believe that is the opinion of many people, because many LBHS students don't go to UC schools. In fact, a lot of them go on to private schools where these weighting issues are more relevant. And the last thing, and the one thing that I would say really took my breath away when I heard about this policy originally, was that we took something away from our students. We took away the carrot and we gave them the stick. We're asking them to do a lot more work. We're asking them to do put in the extra time. You know, these are kids that play sports. A lot of them are involved. And we took away the carrot with the extra grade bump. And I think that's really a disservice to them. And I also think it's a disservice to our district, because we have something really special here. When I tell people where half the kids graduate and go to, they're dumbfounded. And that's because we do put a huge emphasis on excellence. And I believe that bumping up the grade for an honors course is definitely asking for excellence. So I'm asking that the board provide further outreach to the district families and stakeholders and reconsider the current honors grading policy. And perhaps we can change this and get it right. Thank you.
Tim Hayes?
Good evening, board. We have a son in high school. I'm graduating. I've lived in town for 20 years. This is my first ever school board meeting, so shame on me. But a neighbor asked us to come because of the honors issue, but I actually came because of what I read in the student news about the amendment to the bylaws, and I just want to make a brief statement. We know all of our students' lives are, constant competition. They're routinely measured, with test scores against either their peers or whatever standard there is. And many of their classes are full of lively debate, and that's healthy, it's competition. And we as parents, we see our children make a poor decision, we point it out. If they don't take correct measures, we stay after them until there's a better understanding of what's going on, or there's an acceptable remedy to all parties. Okay? That's what we teach our kids, I think, consistently as good parents. And it's for those reasons when I read what the amendment to the bylaw was, I thought this is really hypocritical. This is teaching our kids that when we're tired of hearing about something, we just shut up the voices we don't like to hear. And I think we do a great disservice for our kids in that regard. I say thank you.
Ms. Amy Dunhausen? Or is that, I'm not reading the last name. Oh,
You got
it is.
amazing.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Call me Doghouse. Alright, it's my attempt at humor at the end of the day. So I'm here to talk a little bit about the extra point for the honors classes. So on my very first day of engineering electromagnetics at UCLA, my Dr. Alexopoulos, my professor, came in and he told us all, I am not afraid to fail you people. That was our first introduction. And he went on to explain that he didn't care what parents said or didn't say, you know, he was gonna fail us if we needed to. Some of the class dropped, but I remained and I toughed it out. Our final actually used problems from graduate level courses. We were freshmen at the time. Again, UCLA is a pretty competitive environment. And I thought I was absolutely doomed. I mean, I was hysterical, thinking my life was over. But I got an A. The reason was because Dr. Alexopoulos was all bark and no bite, and in the end he curved the grades. And he had to, because the coursework was really hard. And I collected my A that was, in my opinion, very well deserved because I worked really hard, and I actually learned a lot. So I've actually been trying to get a little bit of a better understanding of this whole extra point thing, because where I grew up in East Tennessee, we didn't have it. And then I moved to California, and that was a big mess with the extra point and all this kind of thing. But I am aware there are a lot of parents very concerned about this. And the anecdotal evidence that I'm hearing is that it's extremely difficult to get an A in the honors classes. Now, of course the honors classes should be hard. I would definitely advocate for that. But I was surprised that the distribution would be any different than a normal class. I think you get this percent get A's, this percent get B's, C's, and so on. And that's how I survived my engineering electromagnetics class. So what I think might be happening, or my speculation as a parent of two kids that are middle school and elementary, so I'm not speaking from experience yet, is that this extra point has been used in the past to compensate for a grading policy that made it very difficult to achieve A's. I'm hearing rumors like one kid in the class gets an A in such, and one or two got an A in something else. Yeah, if there are only two classes in the class of, I'm assuming 20 or 30 get an A, that's a huge disincentive to take that class. So I can't really comment intelligently on the whole extra point thing from the United States or why we do it at all in the first place. But I don't understand why the distribution of grades would be different. And if it is different in these honors classes, if it is nearly impossible to get an A, then I would think we need to put that extra point back. Otherwise, kids who are very motivated and really want to do well and want to be well prepared will start having to do that calculus in their head and going, well, maybe I need to not take honors English or honors math or whatever. And I know most of you know me by now and probably know my outlook, but I am very in favor of my own children being as well prepared for college as possible. My goal is not that they get into college. My goal is they go and they succeed. And for that, they need to be prepared. They need the honors classes and the APs. So I am in favor of this extra point or a fundamental change in the grading distribution. Oh, I'm not allowed to say my two quick things.
No, you're out of time.
I'm out of time. Okay. Well, thank you, Amy.
Thanks, Amy. Don Honeycutt?
Hi, I didn't plan on speaking tonight, I just have a course that's up for approval, so I'm here for that, but I'm still compelled to speak. My name is Dawn Honeycutt, I work at the high school, I'm an English teacher, I'm the department chair. Fun fact, in 1989 when I got married, moved to Orange County and I worked as a temporary employee in the business office with Clyde Lovelady, who was the business manager. And I remember at that time, I had my degree in English, but I didn't know what my career was going to be. I remember looking across at the high school and thinking, it's my dream to work there someday. And circle back, here I am, 30 years later, and I am fortunate enough to work in this district, and I feel very honored and I'm very grateful. I just want to point out some things that are happening at the high school, or that happened at the high school just in the past week, just so you can kind of see the great things that are going on. We had 8th grade parent night, and oh my gosh, Jenny, those 8th graders were so cute. The auditorium was packed. They were spilling out, the parents were spilling out into the hallways, and then they came in the gym and they met with all of the teachers, the departments, and they were just the most lovely children I've ever met. This one little girl, just full of braces, So excited. She was so cute. Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat was going on. The play was wonderful. It was much needed in the times that we're experiencing right now. The MUN conference at our school happened over the weekend, where we had students from all over the state participating in the MUN conference. We had the multicultural fair on Saturday, which was lovely. There was so much free food. I loved it. Registration for all of the classes is happening. So we had exciting discussions last week, and then the kids are registering this week. So it's just fun to have those discussions with kids and talking about their hopes and dreams. Scholarship interviews are happening right now. So you guys are meeting with the teachers and interviewing. And so lots of money is going to get passed out in June. And so it's fun to see the seniors finding out where they're going to go to school, or finding out what they're going to do post-high school, and making plans. So all of that stuff is happening. Sports is happening all over. The new snack bar is great. I've been there many times. Last week we had the Brush and Palette come out. It was a brand new issue and it was wonderful. We had a new Breaker Live, which I was in, which was amazing. And then PTA, I was part of the grant interviews. So students actually stood in front of the PTA and made their proposals about what things they wanted for our campus. From bike racks to t-shirts to all sorts of things. The kids were so well prepared and they did a great job. That was just 1 week at our high school. I want to thank all of you, all of the people in this room. I worked in 3 different districts and I have never been so supported. I have never had the opportunities that I have in this district, and just to be able to bring forward a creative writing course and to have the possibility of teaching that, I just want to thank you for letting me know about the dream. You're the best. Thank you.
Those are all the cards that I had submitted for public comment on non-agenda items. Is there anyone else that is next?
I had submitted a card. You did? Great. Didn't make it up. You can just go and say, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Terry Meinsberger, and I have 2 graduates of Lincoln Beach schools, and one is graduating college and one is still pursuing college. And I also am a parent of one of those cute little 8th graders. And we had a great time at 8th grade parent night. I wanted to come up here today to speak up in agreement of the parents that have spoken with regards to the honors grade bump policy. I believe that this issue really needs to be reopened. There's many reasons why, and many of them have been stated already. I think the one thing that hasn't been stated is that honors prepares our children for AP coursework. And right now, with the new policy, the kids are being discouraged from taking those honors classes, which is discouraging them from getting ready for their AP coursework and then getting ready for college. We have a precedence to revisit issues in this district, and I'd like to see that precedence kept open. I think it's very important to have a dialogue and a feedback, and to recognize when maybe the best decision wasn't made, and to allow ourselves to correct those actions. And that precedence was set with math pathways. And I won't get into all of that, but it was revised, it was revisited, and it was corrected. And we're all very grateful for the open-mindedness of the board to be able to do that. There's other issues with regards to the honors gradebook policy. One, there's a mental health issue. There's a lot of freshmen who are taking these courses, and there's kids that aren't taking the courses, and the grades don't reflect that. The effort that's being put into the honors coursework. There's also an issue with the merit scholarships that was brought up. The lack of the weighted GPA will impact merit scholarships immensely for our children. And that's an opportunity that I don't believe we should take away from them. And then the last issue is, what are the other districts doing? I'm not aware of other districts actually reducing the honors grade bump. And I think we need to reevaluate that. There was a district, Capo Valley, I think it was, that took it away in 2015. And now today they brought it back, and they have like 15 honors classes with grade bump for their students, because they recognize their mistake, they recognize that this is something that we should provide for our students. So please honor the request that was made in the emails and add this item back to the agenda and reconsider it. It's very important for our children. Thank you.
Marie Hanson?
Marie Hansen, a parent of a ninth grader, and actually I'm continuing the conversation that Amy Hunkhausen had. She asked that I complete her comments. What she'd like to know, and she's requesting information from the board, is what the honor course enrollment is at the high school. Basically, if they've increased or decreased as a result of implementing the policy, I believe in February of 2016 that you implemented, or has it stayed stable? So we'd like that information. She'd also like to understand if the course catalog and the description for the weighted GPA states that the 9 through 12 GPA, the academic weighted GPA, 9 through 12, there's several of them that are listed in the catalog, but specifically the weighted academic GPA for 9 through 12. If it's used for class rank, graduation honors, and most college application forms, what is the point of eliminating honors courses that are weighted if you're taking away the opportunity for students to increase their GPA, therefore increasing their class rank, graduation for honors, and their ability to have a better standing on their college application forms. So that was to follow up on her comments. And just as a parent, I hear a lot about how Laguna Beach Unified is about continuous improvement. And I would certainly hope that the board would take seriously that statement, your superintendent's vision, things that you have worked on for several years. You have a lot of people out here that are really interested in seeing you dig deeper. One of the things that I'm most concerned about is that when you made this decision, you didn't survey the students, you didn't survey the community. You had an academic task force that I believe met twice. That's what I can understand from my experience following what the district does. In my opinion, that's not enough. You need to do more research, and I think you have a superintendent and a cabinet here that's well qualified to do that, and I think you should revisit it. And if parents are asking for that, that's something that you should do to be a continuous improvement district. Thank you.
Is there anyone else? And move to reports. Student representative, Kate.
Thank you. So my job is actually a little bit easier tonight, thanks to Ms. Attorney. No, it's wonderful. You actually have a lot of things I don't have down, so I'll touch on other things. So at LBHS, this Thursday at 9 a.m., Sergeant Brian Gonzalez, my dad, with the Orange County Sheriff's Department Community Programs Division, will be giving a presentation to the PTA about drug use, covering topics such as vape pens, effects of marijuana on the teen brain, fentanyl, stimulants, and tips on how to protect your children from going down the road to addiction. Seniors are having their scholarship interviews this week and next with teachers in the LBHS Scholarship Foundation. The drama department is holding auditions tonight and tomorrow for their production of Little Shop of Horrors. This production will be performed in May and will be the concert version of the famous musical with a smaller cast than that of this year's spring musical, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. TOW just wrapped up spring conferences last week as trimester 2 came to an end. 4th grade classes are taking their voyage on the Pilgrim and Dana Point all this week. They held a very successful jog-a-thon last Friday and are projected to exceed their projected goal. At El Moro, they also had a successful jog-a-thon, and pledges are due after spring break. The awards assembly is scheduled for April 26th, and anyone who would like to support the El Moro PTA is encouraged to please see Mr. Duddy. The 5th grade state fair is tomorrow at 8:15 a.m. For athletics, Breakers Spring Sports are in the middle of their Sunset Conference, and everyone is improving. Spring is our busiest season as we field boys and girls teams in track and field, swimming, lacrosse, baseball/softball, as well as boys tennis and volleyball. Our surf team is listed as a fall sport but competes year-round and recently finished 2nd in the state of California. Seniors Kayla Cosino and Travis Booth have had outstanding seasons. All of our teams have competed well in preseason and are now looking to qualify for the CIA playoffs. The Sunset Conference is providing us with outstanding competition that is pushing our student athletes to compete and improve every week. Thank you.
Thank you. The group represents the evening, so we have Elizabeth for CSEA.
CSEA is looking forward to our 3rd day of IBB negotiations this coming Monday, April 1st. This way of facilitating has so far proven to be a process that has brought both sides together to have a productive dialogue with positive new ideas to build on. And as Ms. Spencelli just said, the scholarship applications have gone out to LVHS students for CSEA applications as well to all children and grandchildren of all CSEA members.
Thank you. Board members.
I attended the CCA, also known as ROP, board meeting with Jan, and CAPO is partnering with Orange County Department of Ed on the K-12 Strong Workforce Grant, so we went over that, regular business. That's it.
But you know what, is this your business? And I attended, the school power and small district meeting, and Dr. Lori was able to share, we've already put the programs for this year's funding in place. And they were really pleased to get that information that it's already underway. Dr. Lori.
No report tonight.
Smith?
Thank you, President Vickers. At the end of the meeting, we could use the last item to give staff some direction on these 3 letters of support that I provided are new ones for Assembly Bill 39 or SUGI, which would increase local control funding target based grants to the national average, which is a good thing for educational funding throughout the state. There's Assembly Bill 428 from Medina that would equalize the AB 602 special education funding, which is also a good thing, and it would increase additional funding for students with significant disabilities. And finally, Assembly Bill 1303 from McDonald that would increase ongoing funding for career technical education. Currently it's $150 million to $450 million, but it would also get rid of the strong workforce program. But again, increasing the funding, and this is outside of the LCFF, so it would still benefit community funded districts like us. So wait till the end.
Okay.
Get some direction.
Thank you. Two quick advertisements. Today's vote is coming on May 1st. Our RSVPs are out. School Power donated $10,000 to partner with us on sponsoring that, so we appreciate their support. Finally, Paul Cadillac is coming tomorrow to Thurston Middle School. It's a GATE parent event. He's joining Thurston's PTA. I'd like to thank Dr. Allman for joining me to celebrate Summer Way and how quickly last week at the Dr. Awards.
Our next item is our consent calendar. Are there any items A through J that board members need to be removed? Have a motion, please.
I so moved.
Second. Is there public comment on the consent calendar? Any corrections that we need to make? Any corrections?
I make a comment.
Yes.
Thank you very much for taking back and see the contract.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 401. We have three information items tonight. The first is item 13, local control accountability plan progress and stakeholder engagement. Dr. Depot and Dr. Rivera.
I think Anna Karen has some notes. Dr. Vickers, here it comes. All right, so President Vickers, cabinet colleagues, and our community, we want to talk to you about goal 1 this evening, give you a quick LCAP update. As a reminder, LCAP, our first goal for LCAP is our academic achievement and social emotional strength. We believe this is vital, this work is vital to the lives of our students. Here is a global view, public facing on the California School Dashboard are our measures with regard to CAS scores and graduation rate. In addition, in December, we surveyed our parent community, stakeholders, students, grades 5 through 12 for LCAP. Here's some of the feedback that they talked to us about. Access to high quality courses, a variety of enrichment experiences, sufficient academic social emotional support, and high levels of student engagement. What we've noticed over several LCAP meetings is some themes that continue to emerge. We believe right in the middle of all of those circles should be the word thrive. We're all about thriving students. So we believe that the education of the whole child is very important, and we believe that as outgrowth of our conversations during those LCAP meetings, that we have community consensus around thriving students in these areas. Further, teachers, counselors, administration, district administrators, we are focused in these areas for goal 1. So it's a comprehensive assessment system, problem-solving, systems of intervention, and progress monitoring. We are aligning our work to make sure that our process is clear to everyone. In addition, we're really after that gap between ideal performance and actual performance to make sure that we're understanding exactly what our students need and providing what they needed. And we know that the answer's in the room. So collaborative problem solving is best to address complex student issues. Dr. Mayberry.
Hi, good evening. I want to speak to just a little bit of what that looks like in the classroom. So I'm going to kind of go quickly through what this looks like in 4th grade. So you saw that previous slide, which had all these different things we do. Obviously a very partial list, but that's a lot of the things that we're spending a lot of our resources time on this year to focus on. And so when we look at this stuff, we're really trying to provide personalized learning and personalized support for our students. It does start globally with some of that data, and then slowly narrow down. So here you'll see, we'll look at our SBAC ELA achievement. That's writing, reading, speaking, listening, research. We look at all the kids in there and how we get them all to grow. I'm going to kind of focus on the kids that struggle the most with these next couple slides, but you hear look, there's 10% kids that take this SBAC. In these grade, in 4th grade, there was 10% that were proficient. So there's 19 kids that we're going to immediately start looking at how do we help them. Do they have an advocate? What intervention programs going on? Is there some, maybe there's someone that has recently struggled. Maybe there's a reason they struggled that's not related to academics. So we'll look at that. If you go to the next one, we're going to drill down a little bit more to the next slide, which regarding reading. Yeah. Oh, I have it. Sorry. So we're looking at read levels. So this was focused in on reading. These are the ones that are below standards. 5.2% of our kids are 10 based on the state assessment. So we're starting to look across these different data sets. Are these the same kids? Are they different kids? As we look, this is a test that we give all 4, actually we give all elementary students called DIBELS. It's very focused on reading comprehension. We're drilling down even more. There's a whole host of things that we pull out of there around phonics and reading comprehension. But we really want to hone in on kids that maybe not being at grade level or potential to not be at grade level. We know reading's a huge, in this case we're looking at reading, we know this is a factor in all the subject areas. So you look at there, our average score is 19.2 in the fall this year. We're shooting for 15, so the average score is in the middle of the year. But we did have 47 students that were below that 15. Most of them were fairly close to that. So we look at what are the factors to that. We start looking at the students across all of our 4th grade classes. Then this is another measure, Lexile level, the primary Lexile level. We use this SRI assessment measure. We're looking at this at grade 4. This is recently adjusted for Common Core. In grade 4, we're looking at it to be in this range, 740, between 740 and 875. Again, our average baseline in the middle of that. We're actually in the upper middle. But we did have kids that were struggling. Okay, and so with cross check, we're looking at the reading comprehension. We're starting to provide, teachers are providing obviously the best first instruction, how they can help them in the classroom. When we get to a point where we start to look across these data sets and find the students that are struggling the most or have a pattern of it. So when you look at this, we might have some diagnostic tests, BPST, high frequency words. We start to get really diagnostic about what it is that they need for support. We did recent training on Ortho's Gilliam training to help those students. What it ends up being, we reading specialists at each of the elementary schools. They go in, sometimes push it into the classroom, sometimes kids are pulled out for extra small group instruction. And they have this data that they look at, they have baselines for it. And it really brings this personalized experience to kids. When they're struggling, that we have this very multi-tiered, multi-dimensional look at kids and how we can support them. And this really narrows down into reading. We do this in other areas as well. What this looks like for a teacher is they have a class of however many students, 25, 30 students, is they get this profile, or they get this set of data around students that really tell the story about who they are and what's going on. So up here you'll see, and give an example of 4 potential students. We're looking at writing, math, We have the DIBBLS, which focuses on reading comprehension. And we also have the co-vitality, which is social emotional support. We have different, in 5th grade, I listed there, this is the 4th grade class, but they do thrive there. They look at different things that are strength-based that kids can work, that kids are successful at. So you put that together, it gives us a really personalized look at our kids and how we can best support them. Whether they are struggling the most or whether they are doing very well, it tells a whole story of how we get each kid to move up from wherever they're at.
So I'll transition us over to our social emotional screeners, but I want to go back for just a moment and think about this in terms of the whole child and what an elementary teacher would look at to make a referral as a direct referral for social emotional support. And so with our social emotional support system, we have direct and indirect referrals. An SST group might look at a set of data to make a direct referral. A parent might also make a direct referral. Here's an indirect way that we ensure that all students are monitored and cared for. So the first thing that is important that we talk about is we know that school culture and curriculum makes a difference. Universal support around essential positive relationships between students and adults, that student connectedness is vital for emotional wellness and school connectedness. So school culture, established curriculum, those are really important pieces that our schools are providing for students. However, going back to our referral process, this is an indirect referral. So all students take this unless families opt them out, but so the co-vitality screener, grades 4 through 12. We monitor our students' wellness and strengths. We look for elevated distress levels, which might look like moderate or high risk there, and we follow up in the ways listed there. We want to make sure that our students are well cared for. We're looking as a school, by group, and at the individual student. Individual student reports go home to families, and that's a sample picture of what that might look like. But we do that in a way to make sure that all the adults in the system are monitoring student wellness, academic achievement, and where our intentional actions are to support all students. That is a summary of Goal 1 LCAP. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Is there public comment on this presentation? Any board member questions? Comments?
I did have, so, Chuck, when you said, where you look to see whether they have an advocate, and then we also have the last thing I was just speaking about, kind of the indirect way of advocating for them by them taking that test. Is that, but you're looking to see if they have an advocate at home, is what you're saying, or they self-advocate depending on what grade you get?
Using that term, sometimes the term is used very formally, sometimes informally.
That's what I'm trying to.
So depending on the student and their level of success, we want to ensure every kid has someone that ideally they're connected to at school, and they have a strong system of support at home as well. We know we can definitely are focusing on how we can connect things at school. Sometimes it's more, if a student has a specific learning disability, it might actually be someone with special education certification that can support them that way. Sometimes it's a kid that's just struggling and it's the counselor that's gonna check in with them once a week to see how they're doing. Sometimes it's the principal that checks in with them. But this way, by looking at the students at this level of detail, we really can find someone for them.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. I wasn't sure if you meant you were looking to see if they had an advocate, like, right as a baseline, or you're saying this helps create
Helps us
those advocates.
determine their needs and what they need.
Advocacy for the students, yeah, that's it, okay.
I just said on this right here, looking at student 1, so everything is looking really pretty good till you get down to the co-vitality and highest risk. So for that student, that's a red flag.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and that's what we're looking at. Sometimes you have a student who looks in your classroom like they're doing well, grades are going good, or if we can have something like co-vitality tells us like, okay, like there's something more going on that we're not seeing here, right? If they're being successful, and sometimes sometimes it's more obvious because it's external behaviors that we can see in actions, and this picture allows us to kind of pinpoint a little bit more of that support.
So that would be like calling an SST referral or?
Yes, and the parents would be notified, because fourth grade, they're taking the co-ed knowledge trainer, so parents would be notified, and would be having conversations to ensure that we are monitoring students.
Middle school level, maybe your support specialist will check in on them,
Yes.
do, a follow-up interview, see what's going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next information item is 14, report regarding the K-12 Strong Workforce Program grant, partnership with the Orange County Department of Education and the Division Unified School District. Dr. Depot and Dr. Gary.
Good evening. Come back. So I just wanted to share some information around a new grant called the K-12, new grant to K-12 schools. It's called the K-12 Strong Workforce Program. It's a grant, there's similar grant had been at the community college and the universities before, but this one specifically for K-12. It's CTE based, so it's career tech education based. So we currently receive a grant called CTIG, the incentive grant for CTE. This is in addition to that. And so it's run a little bit differently. This one is being run through the community colleges. We're fortunate to be in Orange County, which they have this Orange County pathway that's already been established as a partnership between colleges and school districts. So that's where it initially went for planning purposes. And so this is something that the county has been working with all the districts for several months now, finding out where this might go. It's a huge amount of money for CTE. Maybe. I'll show you that in a second, but it's about
Very good. Let me start it again.
Let's try again. So it's about 150 million for 14 million for different administrative overhead costs, but about 150 million. The community colleges already receive that. The Orange County area is scheduled to receive almost 13 million per year. There were grants that were submitted by the Orange County Department of Ed. They submitted a large grant on behalf of districts that we could opt into. It's really unique in that way. There are some different ways to apply. They asked the district if they wanted wanted us to be a partner with them in this grant. So the potential for us and what we said we would be interested in is up to 260,000 annually. There are 4 areas that we said we had interest in. One was around advancing career counseling. So this would be a counseling position, and what's unique about this one is that they would spend a chunk of their time at the county office of ed working with all the other districts in Orange County, so that we can share practices and collaborate and what works and kind of really take all of our resources and time and how to maximize that. So there's another one around dual enrollment, so having kids take college courses and things that are at that level. And then one around career education pedagogies. So that could actually be K-12. So we do a lot of things in there. This money would allow us to kind of connect all those things. Some that we've actually seen in our LCAP as well. We have a lot of these different career bases going on. How do we connect those better? This would support that. And then some work-based learning. There's actually more than these 4 that they made available. We decided that these are ones that best fit that we could really maximize with what we have. The other ones we actually looked at and said these are ones that we think we already do with our CCA partnership. So there was a few other ones that we kind of already covered that in that partnership that's already established. The timeline for this, the Orange County Department has submitted its application at the end of April. It'll be awarded. It's the schedule for that. There was a board meeting in May where we would have to do an MOU. We determine at that point that partnership, and then their fund disbursement is supposed to be.
Public comment? Any questions or comments?
I'm familiar with Kathy Boyd on this, and this is a really great grant. It's going to benefit all of Orange County schools. It's going to connect all the career education in the county in an amazing way. Because just in my actual work, I work with her a little bit, besides being on school board, and it's an amazing grant, and it's a lot of fun. It's really exciting.
a little bit of a shout out to Kathy as well.
Yeah.
She's one of the ideal persons to lead this.
Yeah, it's really
Has been
exciting.
very creative, bringing everybody together, to build
And
this.
districts can talk to each other about what they all offer, because that's the one thing we're missing, is a heat map of every pathway in the county.
Correct.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. Item 15, board governance protocols workshop, Dr. Gloria.
There was a request for staff to bring back some potential options for the board to consider. So in the board item, you will see that there will be brought back 3 potential items with identified costs. One would be to use Atkinson, Andelson, Loya, Rudd, and Romo. It's already included as part of our contract with that firm to provide this type of service. The other would be actually utilizing CSBA, California School Board Association, to facilitate the governance workshop. Could be facilitated by one of 6 potential consultants. And that could be done over, I believe, 1 day or 2 days. But if we do the 2-day option, it would cost increase to $3,500. And then the last was the Aspen Group, which is an outside group that consults for school boards throughout the United States. And they designed the parents governance model, and their costs are $5,000. So staff just requested direction on how to proceed. Our next meeting is not till the 23rd of April. And in order to kind of move forward, we would need to try to confirm somebody for the main date that we potentially are holding. I think there's maybe 2 potential dates in May that we're looking at. So if I received a little bit of guidance as to what the board's interest, I'll bring back an item formally in April, and we can try to confirm a date with those that we decide to go with, if it's a firm that needs an actual agreement.
So public comment on this item? Board members?
Are the CSBA people the same people that when we go to the conference or similar, or would they be those same people who would speak?
I couldn't speak to exactly, I mean, of course, there's some that would be potentially folks that they utilize, but there are others that might not necessarily be presenting at CSBA that would also be available, so.
Well, I read one of the books
Mhm.
from the Aspen Group.
Me too.
Which was more enlightened thought than, or just made me think about some of these concepts in even a higher level, a bigger level, than some of the workshops I had at CSBA. I tend to lean.
I lean towards Aspen Group just because I've read some of the books and I think they're really thoughtful and their coverage is greater. I don't lean towards Atkinson and Andelson because we've had Brown Act with them. There's a skill to helping with the governance, and I think their skill is inherent in the books they write. That's my thinking.
I like the national viewpoint as well.
Yeah.
And it's a different view.
I agree, I think the Aspen Group would be the best one for us.
I have different opinions, but
Okay.
so you know the majority rules.
We'll
Yes.
share it.
Well,
share
I've just had experience before when people come in that are, really have no familiarity with your district.
Okay.
That really influences them, and it makes it, you know, they're bringing in their ideas as opposed to our community. So that would be my concern.
Talk to Ms. Honeycutt first.
Why should I?
No, them to learn about it. Give them 3 minutes of this process of the district.
But I think you have direction from that.
Yeah, we'll be
Sure.
contract for the Aspen Group. Thank you for the feedback.
Move to our action items for this evening, there are a number of them. Item 16, approval of the course of study for the Leland Beach Unified District Secondary Schools for the 2019-20 school year. Dr. Debo.
Thank you, President Vickers, board.
The rating. Writing.
We're just waiting.
1040 talks about the expectation that each governing board brings forward a course of study. So the Laguna Beach Unified District publishes annually our course of study, thank you. The course of study is the result of collaboration between instructional services, secondary schools, innovative teachers, and a variety of instructional programs, including the College and Career Advantage and the Irvine Valley College. This document serves as an important source of information about courses offered at Thurston and Laguna Beach High School. The 1920 edition of the course of study incorporates additions, CC approvals, course weighting, and course title changes. It also includes our 5 CC pathways. Our process is as follows. So our site works with the site principal. They talk to stakeholder groups, review information, talk about what that impact might look at the school site. That information is brought forward by teachers and principals to instructional services. There's a review for staffing with the Human Resources Department. There's a draft course syllabus prepared. That comes forward to Curriculum Council. Upon approval, courses are placed in the course of study. I think it's important to note though that courses are scheduled in the master schedule and the master calendar pending enrollment and staffing. Those courses that you'll see in the course of study this year include creative writing, app development, authentic exploratory research, and yoga core fitness. Here are courses that we have added, as you know, since 2016. Finally, the high school's course offerings page is here. It's also provided in the back for our community to see. If pending board approval, it will be loaded on the site's Laguna Beach High School's website, and there will be a parent call out pending the board approval this evening.
Public comment? Or comments? Well, questions, and then we need a motion. Discussing questions.
This is just a question. Next year, if it's known on the column, you know, this, we're talking about this, aren't we?
We got this sheet and
Yeah.
that is this broken down.
But on this, it'd be helpful if we knew what year, like the courses were, I would find it helpful if I knew like what year they're established and kind of see growth.
Oh, okay,
That would be
that's
really
really
helpful.
Okay. Okay.
See when they're, I'm sorry, when they're what?
We're established.
When they're established, if we have it, we have it, I'm not asking for.
Yes.
That's a great idea. Are you asking title change in addition to when?
There's been a few
Yeah,
title
I
changes.
thought, I was trying not to get into the
Okay,
weeds
that's
of
why
what.
I just wanted to.
Yeah.
We can take that
Sure,
into
that's
consideration and see if that's if it's feasible for us to figure out how to do that. Thank you for your
I like how the
suggestion.
students ask for something, or roll in it, right, and they're voting, and how that grows. I just like how it grows and how teachers think of things, and it grows, so just.
Motion, please.
So,
A second?
Discussion. No discussion?
No discussion?
Appreciate seeing the new courses and the process that it takes to establish a new course. And I think it is critical for us to see that little, whatever that little notation was at the bottom, pending enrollment, because that's always a difficulty, I think, for those of us who remember enrolling college classes, either it was full or it got canceled, or then you have to look for another option. So the same thing, I think, and we do make our students aware of that after high school, so they know that something that they're looking at taking may not get enough students. It's very informative, and it's, there are a lot of offerings, that's what, there are a lot.
and so a variety of alternatives.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Caitlin, so you should have the preference vote. Yeah, you should have been before us, excuse me. Item 17, approval curriculum council recommendation for textbook adoption for history social science framework commencing with the 2019-2020 school year. Dr. Deacon.
Thank you. So I have a team to help me present this one. So if you are presenting, please join me at the front. I'd like to thank Jonathan Todd, Kristen Cowles, Michelle Martinez, Megan Fry, and Rosie Haynes, and we had 3 of our elementary teachers get sick or be in bed today, so. There she is. Ms. Matson is also doing this, Kimberly Matson, on their behalf, so thank you for your attention. This is your history social science pilot here. So, as Victoria presents get us up and ready. Today I just want to quickly talk about the instructional shifts so you have an idea of the work that they did and what they looked at, understand our process for piloting, and then I'll let the teachers present their final selections for consideration. Thank you. So first, we have 5 big ideas in this framework adoption. As a reminder, the framework is how a teacher's instruction changes, and the textbook helps align to that and supports a teacher with those instructional shifts. So the big ideas are content literacy, inquiry, and citizenship. That is directly out of the framework. Sometimes we call it CLIck. Is a way for us to reframe ideas for co-construction of knowledge. And students participate in the process and understand why citizenship is so vital to our society today. The second is a look at historical and social science analysis skills. So while the standards did not change, the skills have a different focus within those standards. So let me just give you a quick example of, sheesh, my notes here, sorry about that. So we expect our K-5 students to have a chronological and spatial thinking, summarize key events. And 6th to 8th grade, we want students to understand how events are related in time. Recognize the role of chance, oversight, and error in history. That's a lot of critical thinking. We also want students to relate current events to physical characteristics of places and regions in high school. Those are skills. Those are expectations that we have of students as they encounter curriculum, and these are our fine warriors that help them do that. So another lens that our teachers have looked at is the dimensions of inquiry, and that is embedded deeply in the C3 framework. Finally, we've done training and professional development around primary source work. So this team has looked at a lot of different components to make the right decisions. Elementary and Top of the World had a team. They looked at 2 separate publishers. We had big instructional fairs. We were looking at anywhere between 5 to 9 publishers, and as a group, they whittled it down to the publishers that are listed here. Thurston looked at 2, and then you can see the high school, based on course, looked at 2 or 3. So here are our pilot teachers. Again, many are sick, so Jonathan Todd is even stepping in for one of our sickies today. We just appreciate their work and their dedication. It's a lot of work to be a pilot teacher. So without further ado, I'd like our elementary folks to step up and just quickly talk about some of the rationale for Studies Weekly.
So I teach kindergarten, and we decided on Studies Weekly, sorry, there's a ringing in my ear, so in case, I'm one of the sick ones too, but I wanted to come because Studies Weeklies, it's my favorite because of the flexibility. It comes as a consumable, and you can arrange it for the entire year. Once you've arranged it, you can easily coordinate it with our Wonders program, and our ELA program goes with 3 weeks, every 3 weeks. That's a themed unit, and we can stick whatever we're learning, not only during the morning, but extend it throughout the whole day. And then that's our extension for the ELA. And the other favorite is the online component, the ability that it reads for our kindergartners, and I'm sure it reads very similarly to 5th and upper grades, 3rd grade. But it reads and it highlights as it reads, and the kindergartners absolutely love it because at the beginning of the year they can't read, they can't write, and some do, but not all. So it lends itself really well for my Lobies. Predictions, I'm able to just stop it, ask, predict, discussion question. It has all the DOKs, 1, 2, 3, as well as 4s. The inquiry process is usually based on a primary picture, so they stop it, they click it, and they say, let's observe it. It's obviously for kinder. They're looking at observation, reflections, questions that they want to ask, and that becomes your inquiry process. So that's how it every single unit, every week it has that. So if you could do inquiry with social studies every week, but obviously, it's not doable. Other than that, it does have, for the challenge, it has enrichment to go higher, lower, so that's, just the flexibility of having that. You can extend your class if you have if you're leveled out. That was one of my favorites. But the TM comes hard copy online worksheets, but one of the favorites is the movies. I know they're only like 56 seconds or 1 minute and a half, but they absolutely love those. Those are, the movie does the same. They already know how to read the bonus questions, answer the mouse questions because they earn points and they're crazy about this. So it seems like it's rigorous and yet it's entertaining for them. And because it's such a high engagement, they're loving it every day not every day, but when we do it, they love it. So we can review it every day and just add snippets of it. And that's the ease of this curriculum that we found. And then, the flexibility of being able to teach responsibility with my Wonders unit. It just goes hand in hand. Now we're moving on to another theme and I can pull it out. And that's as a teacher, that's easy for me to manage with all the other curriculums that I have to teach. Thank you.
I'm Kimberly Madison, and I'm representing Sarah Woolsey. She was one of our 6 teachers, but she did email us with what she would have said tonight. She said, Studies Weekly is an ideal curriculum for elementary teachers. When faced with teaching multiple subjects, there's only so much time in a day. Studies Weekly offers teachers manageable chunks that can easily be incorporated into our already packed schedule. Additionally, the online component allows the teacher and students to dive deeper into standards that demand more face time. Students can annotate and highlight in the consumable magazine, which is what we're encouraging them to do to promote comprehension in all subject matters. Finally, the ability to send home the magazine is a great way for parents to stay connected to our curriculum. I love the idea our social studies discussions in the classroom carry over to the dinner table. Thank you.
I am so sorry, I don't need to be obtuse. I asked Mr. Duddy to step in since his teachers were not able to make it this evening. Is there anything else we're going to cover in elementary?
I think they did a great job, and I really appreciate Rosie coming, even though she doesn't feel that well.
Great.
I think they thoroughly covered it.
Thank you, Mr. Duddy. All right, so Thurston. Thank you for being here.
Hi, good evening. I'm Megan Mathias. I teach 6th and 8th grade social studies.
Michelle Martinez, 7th and 8th grade social studies.
We chose as a team to adopt the National Geographic curriculum. One of the really interesting things is this is actually the first time ever that National Geographic has made middle school level textbooks ever in their history. And it's kind of surprising because when you think of all the history that National Geographic has, for them to do a social studies textbook just seems like a natural step. And if you have a chance to check out the textbooks in the back of the room, they are so engaging just from the moment you pick them up. We've joked that they're like coffee table books. They're gorgeous, and they come with, if you think of all the great photography, videos, the National Geographic explorers who are out on the scene. This textbook curriculum carries all of that with it. So there's great engaging videos where you can go on site with archaeologists and explorers to see locations, which really brings ancient cultures and medieval times, as well as early US history to life in a way that I think a lot of our students haven't necessarily experienced before. The way that the book gives you a deep dive into artifacts with these amazing 2-page spreads of, let's say, a medieval knight and all of the equipment that they would have, and it's essentially like walking into a museum. And not only can they look at it in the textbook, but they can go online into the digital resources and zoom in even more deeply and see it in a really engaging way.
And being part of the textbook committee, this book really hit the C3 framework and the social studies framework. It really implements the primary sources. Finally, we have it right there. You can see the pictures. They have the primary sources for the students to look for it, which was really amazing for a book finally for us in social studies, since it's been so long for our adoption process. It's very engaging. The kids love it, but it's really just a hands-on on seeing primary sources, getting into the inquiry part that the book does, and just bringing the statistics. Their graphics are amazing. Their geography, because it's National Geographic,
they update the world map every 24 hours. So if anything's changing, anything, the border's moving, it's a live map. And you can constantly click in and it does political and economic, but it's doing it consistently. And for 7th grade, which was so impacted for the social studies framework, in that we have like 13 new sections that we're covering, it was one of the only books that really focused on the interconnectedness that goes through each and every culture that we go through. And it linked it very nicely so that the kids can understand that even though we're in different sections of the world, things were constantly happening together as a timeline. So the beginning of each section goes through and they can hit each one, it's activated the timelines and the pictures and stuff, but they can follow that along. So of the books, we really love this one, National Geographic.
And also from the teacher perspective, the way that their curriculum is outlined, some books might give you 7 or 8 pages on kind of a broad topic, and it can be really hard for an 11, 12-year-old to digest that. This book, on the other hand, breaks them down into much smaller topics, and every single one is a 2-page spread. So it's really easy for them to just open it up, read the content, see the amazing visuals, and they can digest that one topic really deeply, rather than have so much to go through over the course of a week. So we as teachers really like it, and from what we can tell thus far, the students are really enjoying the books as well.
And because it's a resource only, we can do what we normally do with teaching, and then have the kids open the book and just review all for 2 pages exactly what we just talked about. So it's a nice little synopsis for them. Thanks.
Jonathan, thank you so much for being here.
So we picked something called TCI, which is a Teachers Curriculum Institute. I've been using it for about 10 years. It's something that I asked Denny Christensen if I could do about, I feel like about 8 years ago, maybe 8 or 10 years ago. What I like about it, it's like compared to a traditional textbook, it's a little smaller. For me, what it did better was hit the standards. And just literally you could go chapter by chapter, and it matched up really well with the standards. The other thing about it that I thought was so good was, and the way I teach the class is the first couple days of a week, I'm teaching information, I'm lecturing and so on. And then always by block, there's some kind of experiential activity that they actually learn by doing. And that's what I think has, in the long run, paid off the most. The other thing that I didn't realize how good it was when we piloted the other one, the online aspect of TCI is just so much better than anything I've come across. And it's so much more user-friendly. The idea of, like the Pearson book that we used, an online textbook, you'll read it, and then their idea of an online resource is literally a worksheet that you have to like PDF and then print out. Where you go to TCI and it has you do a writing summary at the end, and then you click and they send it to you, it comes to our email. And it's usually a summary, so there's much more bigger emphasis on writing, which I love. And it's just really like the kids enjoy it, and that's important, and for me, it's like with what's going on in politics, it's just been a godsend. So we pretty much went to every class TCI because it follows that format. And I don't know if I'm forgetting anything. And she's going to talk about the AP textbook.
I can also talk about TCI because I did the piloting last year when I was teaching regular. And TCI is a program that we've actually been using, not their textbooks, but we've been using their ancillary materials for as long as I've been here. So they have these activities that would supplement other kinds of instruction and provide some really interactive, neat things for the kids to do to process and put together pieces of information. And so one of the cool things about TCI is, as a textbook, is that those activities are still there and the information is much more seamlessly woven in than when we used another textbook and then we used TCI as the ancillary. So that blending makes it kind of all work really well together. And the resources for the teachers were great. And I know that they're continually adding things. The ability for kids to, on the fly, just press a button and translate the information into Spanish was awesome. It was really also very nice when we had students who were absent for a long period of time. They come back, they have to make things up in every single one of their classes, and this made it something where they could go and do a lot of that work at home without having to, juggle SDL and lunch and all of those things to make things up. So it was really helpful in that way as well. For AP, I chose the AMSCO review book, which sounds really odd because it's a review book. All of the AP history texts, AP US history texts, they're all going to kill Lincoln, the guy. It's all going to have the same date for the signing of the Constitution, and all of that's going to be the same. The struggle that I've always had is getting kids to read it. The kids that I have in junior year, they're taking multiple APs, they are doing sports and jobs and community service, and they're just overloaded. And so it's always been a real struggle for me to get the kids to actually read the textbook, which is kind of essential. Just say, and stop laughing, get me off track, I was on a roll. So it was really interesting when I had the opportunity to pilot one textbook last year, which was the newest edition of the textbook that I had been using, and then I had scheduled 2 different pilots for the first half of the year. But I was still having that same struggle, even with the availability of online resources and online textbooks. Getting the kids to read was just a battle. And then I just had been listening to some other AP US history teachers talk about their adoption struggles, and some of them went with a book that had been a review book that I have recommended for years to students as a really solid, concise piece of information that they can use to review for the AP exam. But now College Board is accepting it as the actual textbook for the course. And the kids, it was half the length. The chapters are about half the length. It's much more condensed. It doesn't have the narrative flow of a story, but it's something that they're able to get the information from much more quickly, which, with considering their impacted lives, is really a benefit. It also, by being shorter, gives me a lot more flexibility in the other things that I can bring into the classroom, more primary sources, more activities, things where I used to feel so guilty about giving them so much reading, but now I can supplement with some other things because I know that they're getting the information from the text, and then we can go into more depth in the classroom. And it was a really great process. The last time the only other time since I've been in Laguna that we did a full textbook adoption was so different. And so I really appreciated this process of being able to look at a lot of different books, really consider which ones would best meet the needs of our students as well as the teaching styles of the different teachers, and then getting the opportunity to pilot and be trained on the various textbooks was really beneficial. So I am very appreciative of this process, and I feel really confident in the choice that I was allowed to make. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank our teachers, our mighty teachers, for joining us this evening. Are there any questions?
Public comment? Questions, if you have questions in the discussion, we need a motion.
Also, a huge thank you to the teachers for coming out, really appreciate it. And it looks exciting. When I was at the back table, I couldn't help but pick up the National Geographic one, that was cool. So thank you for all your work.
I have a question. I'm just recently volunteering with the TLC program, and the math is something that, I know how to add and subtract, but not the new way. Everything is like long division. And is there any kind of course for those that are helping that I can take a course in math to learn new math?
Can you connect with?
Yes.
There's a reason I teach this.
She said there's a reason I teach
We can to get together.
Thank you, teachers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries 4-1. Oh, sorry, yeah, I did it again, Caitlin.
Oh, yes.
Don't want you to feel that you have to hear our vote first. Item 18, approval curriculum council recommendation for adoption of a new calculus textbook for Laguna Beach High School commencing with the 2019-2020 school year at a not to exceed cost of $53,425. Dr. Depot.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Midley and Nancy Morris for their support with our very tiny adoption committee. They reviewed and piloted, and this will bring forth their suggestion.
Public comment? Any questions? Motion?
A second.
Any discussion? Thank you for living with them and meeting the needs of that. Caitlin?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 4-1. Item 19, approval, purchase of Code HS online curriculum for advanced placement computer science A course in an amount not to exceed $7,200 for a 3-year contract. Dr. Depot.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Dr. Ullman and Ms. Denton for bringing forth this adoption. Ms. Denton piloted this in her course this year. This was recommended, the recommended curriculum for this class, and she had an excellent experience. So she'd like to recommend that it comes forward for adoption.
Public comment? Any questions? Motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Just thank you. You've been busy in your department.
Yeah.
Caitlin?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries 4-1. Item 20, approval contract with Mind Research to provide the ST Math Supplementary Mathematics Program for the purpose of piloting during summer school and the 2019-20 school year in an amount not to exceed $36,080. Dr. Depot.
Thank you. So this is our second year pilot. We'd like to engage with this program. This is a math-only program. We offered optional training for teachers. We'd like to offer additional training for teachers to support teachers with fidelity to instruction, to identify a program and a way that better fits in their classrooms and grade levels. So the training that we'd like to offer is around log on and student experience, and also for running reports to make sure that teachers are better able to run reports as TMath continues to build our platform. We'd like to request a second year to pilot this program to make sure that it's the program that fits all of our needs.
Public comment? Any more questions? Motion? Sorry.
So it looks like it's meeting our needs.
Yes, we have great success with the teachers that are implementing with fidelity at this time. But we did not provide training to all teachers. Ms. Matson provided individualized training classroom by classroom, so we'd like to broaden that out for the whole school now.
Okay, I see.
Thank you.
Motion?
A second.
Carol, any discussion? I'm more excited about voting for this than I think I voted for. Like, I really hope that they're all able to experience it, and if it works for them, that it.
Good training.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Great. Caitlin?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries 4-1. Item 21, approval iReady program with curriculum associates in the Laguna Beach Unified School District at a cost not to exceed $32,028. Dr. Depot.
Thank you. So in 2017-18, we had a small group with an intervention focus. This is a pilot. All teachers across Gen Ed and SAI teachers, I piloted this program this year. It is a reading, it's offered both in reading and math. We'd like to adopt it just for reading at this time. Teachers found it useful for small group instruction and MTSS. It provides excellent diagnostic assessments for our teachers to support communicating with families about student progress.
Thank you. Public comment? Any more questions? Motion please.
A second.
Any discussion?
No, I didn't know when to bring this up, but does this, the presentation you guys made on the LCAP, the accountability plan, where you're putting all that information together to give like a holistic view of a student, would this end up tying into that?
It would in the future, yes. Yes, it could, yes.
Caitlin?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried 4-1. Item 22, approval revised contract with Jennifer McLuhan for a total of 11 days of next generation science standards in GSS, consulting for Thurston Middle School science teachers in an amount not to exceed $20,350.
Thank you. So we initially offered them this contract for 8 days to support primarily our secondary sites with MGSS work. Thurston has requested 3 additional days this school year to continue to work on 3-dimensional assessments and continue to refine their 8th grade class for next year.
Public comment? Any board questions? Motion please.
So moved.
Second. Peggy, any discussion? They're making progress in this area, and that, from what I hear, she is excellent. She looks great.
Thank you for your support.
Caitlin? Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries 401. Item 23, increase the existing agreement with Carbottle Law Firm for legal counsel related to special education issues with a not to exceed amount of $45,000 for the 2018-2019 school year. This is your work.
Yes, on behalf of Director White, yes, we would request an increase in our Carbottle Law contract. We have estimated hours and current students, thank you.
Public comment? Any board questions? Motion, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, so we're using a lot more hours than we originally thought we would.
We are,
Okay.
yes.
More students?
Complex cases. We wanna make sure we're
Complex
serving
cases, okay.
students in the right way.
And it's not to exceed, so that doesn't mean that's
Right. Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Caitlin?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, carries 401. Item 24, approval of board policies, first read. These are the policies that we were bringing first read from our last workshop session on March 18th. These came forward with a recommendation to approve on the first reading. Did you want to do more presentation, Dr. Floyd?
Well, as we've discussed at the policy workshop, which has been kind of our regular process by which we use to identify policies that need to be revised. You can see there's several that we brought forward more recently and had a discussion about. In the notes section on the item, you can see specifically whether it's a new policy, whether we're making language edits, or whether there was potentially new laws passed. We did our best to identify as many of the questions and comments that came from board members in this second go around, adding additional court precedent cases if those were available to receive those, so you may see those per the request of the board. But we bring them forward to you for a first read and recommend they be brought back for a second read for approval at the next board meeting.
Any public comment on this? At this point, we are taking all these together on this item. Public comment? Any board questions?
I have a comment to the comment question. I'm just using for the discussion.
Motion?
Second.
Discussion.
I just wanted to say thank you, Deepa, Dixon, Winston, for layering our aspirations within the laws when we were presenting these to us. Really felt like a lot of the questions, other things we had asked you guys really thought about beforehand and fully avoided them. I really appreciate it.
Further discussion? Just for anyone who might be interested, who's we're covering a number of sections, because I've been asked that question outside the meeting on how policies come forward. And of course, we have in this item, we have some in the 3,000s, the 4,000s, the 5,000s, and the 6,000s. So there are many areas that are covered, and when you commented on our experts who bring forward these policies and keep us in line with the new laws and changes that are, like you said, legal references. So also appreciated keeping us current. Caitlin? Yes. Board members, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 401. Now we have board bylaws, first read, and I believe as we did before that we take these separately. I think that's probably more efficient than to confuse the discussions. So, board bylaw 9310, board policies, we did review and discuss it, and it's coming forward with a slight change. So, any public comment on this item? We have a show the changes. They do have a copy that shows. There were agendas. Pardon me? No, we take public comment at the start, that way a board member may choose to consider public comment, public input, when they make their comments, discussions, or ask questions, so that your comment, your concerns need to come first.
Sharon Morgan, I have 2 kids in the school, 2 just graduated. I'm concerned because I'm about some of the policies, and specifically the new policy that you are considering tonight.
Policy we're doing right now, Sherry, is 9310.
9310.
Oh, one at a time?
Right at a time. They have 3.
I can't hear you guys up there
Oh,
because you're not
sorry.
using your microphones, and so it's really hard to hear. What
That's
you're
okay,
saying.
we have 3 bylaws, and this is the first one, board bylaw 9310. Don't go far.
Don't go far.
Any other public comment on 9310? Any board questions?
I have some questions.
Questions or discussion?
Question.
Okay.
I think there's I got some questions, a little bit of confusion about the difference between a board policy and a bylaw.
So,
If you look on the website that says board policies, but then you get down and it says board bylaws.
In our March 18th meeting, when we talked
getting
about
into
that.
discussion.
Oh, it's
We're gonna have
discussion, you're right,
we
it's not
have-
question.
We need to have a motion on the floor.
So the 9000s are the way by which the board functions, those are bylaws. Policies are relating to how the board requests the district to function as it relates to the administration of the district. So bylaws are related to how you as a board function, the policies are related to the policy by which the district is managed.
Okay, so on the website, it's just all under policies.
Correct. Because they are
So that was the-
interchangeable.
That was the, okay, okay. Yes,
There's extra, I wanna say, it wasn't number 75, but it actually says board policy and board bylaws are interchangeable.
okay.
Somewhere in the 50 to 75 is when there's discussion.
I wondered about, on the second page, under board bylaws, should we also add consistent with state and federal law regulations like we have on the others? Or should we just want it state
On the
regulations?
first sentence of the second,
Mhm.
is that what you're?
We're going to discuss that, we need a motion on the floor.
Yeah, so moved.
Carol,
Second.
Peggy, okay, proceed.
Okay, so can you ask that, so again, the board shall.
The board should prescribe and enforce rules for its own government consistent with state and federal law and regulations.
Is there a reason why you would or would not add federal? Anybody have any?
I couldn't speak to that, I think that would be a question
It
for
didn't
Mark.
come up at the policy workshop, so I can't answer that either.
Do you wanna get the question answered and then bring it back?
Sure.
Is that okay? So we'll. Doctor?
This is the first read.
First read, and bring it back.
Oh, of course, okay. Any other discussion on? We did have the one change, which is adding legal responsibilities and contracts, including but not limited to collective bargaining. Right. So we'll bring this back, so Caitlin.
Yes, before
we
go, so one more request on adding the federal is just, I mean, EDCODE is the state, so I don't know if we then have to reference anything federal law, so just make sure that we're adding, like if we need to reference something in the reference.
I'll make sure, I'll clarify with Mark. Yeah, Mark.
Caitlin. Bert, all in favor? Aye. This comes back as second read with the answer to the question. Board of Bylaw 9322, agenda meeting materials. So public comment on this.
So I wanna, Sherry Morgan, so I was trying to look at this agenda before I got here today. And there was a very large section in the middle, that was not I was not able to see. I don't think it was my computer. It had the agenda, but it didn't have all of the supporting documents. I don't know if there was connection issues or what, but it just wasn't there. It had all the numbers and then there was a big gap and then it popped up again. I also want to reference back to the day when there was a call out for board meetings, because that was a nice heads up to people. I think people get really busy and they lose track of the days. And it certainly was a lot more community friendly and letting people know that they were welcome to join you at a board meeting. And I heard a lot of comments earlier tonight about the special meeting that was held that nobody really knew about, unless they go and seek it out. And who would seek out a board meeting on a Monday morning? Why would they know that existed? They wouldn't. So I think therein lies some of the struggle that I know I am having, because there does seem to be a lot of secrecy out in the open of we're just gonna do it and then they'll find out about it after the fact. And that's just not how our little tiny town should work. There's the comment from board member Perry was asking about why is federal in here when it's in all of the other policies and bylaws. Why would you not put it in there? If it's in everything else, then it should be in there because you should be following consistently a law that is a law in one place as it is another. And if the 3, 4, or 5 of you did not know that, then what makes you more superior than another board member in the position that you hold on our board than somebody else? Shouldn't you know everything? To say that you're more qualified to have a board seat or a presidency or something else than somebody else? You should know every single thing about the bylaws and what's in them and how they should be read. If you are more superior than somebody else to where you can come out and say that somebody shouldn't have their turn.
Do you have a comment before your time's up on this specific agenda, meeting
Isn't
materials?
this about meeting materials and agenda? And
It's
didn't
on
you talk about
agenda content.
whether federal should be inside this document and isn't this
That was-
materials?
Her question was asked on the previous one and.
And this is materials related to this meeting, so I am on point. I'm done, thank you.
Any other public comment on this policy or this bylaw? Any questions from the board?
Oh, she's got a question.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
Well, just on a positive note, I want to thank the teachers that were here. That was a wonderful presentation of the textbook adoption. And some of my son's favorite teachers, Ms. Martinez, Ms. Mathias, and Mr. Todd. I'm here tonight because my son's an MUN and I have time, so I thought I'd share some of my observations regarding the board bylaw 9322, I believe it is. I don't have my glasses on. One of the things I wanted to comment on, which I think is really important, is how things get on the agenda. And I know that Dr. Meloria works very well with his board members, and when he meets with the board president, it says in here in consultation with the board president, the agenda is set. Now, that's a really wiggly piece in terms of how boards work with their superintendent, and obviously if it's not mutually agreed upon about what goes on the agenda, it probably doesn't go on. But I would encourage all of you as board members to consider the fact that if one of you had an item that you brought to the board president or your superintendent, that rather than squash it and make people feel that their issues are not important, that maybe you consider putting it on because of the very fact that you know you have the 3 votes, so you're gonna get what you want anyways. But just for the open dialogue with the community, so we understand why you do the policies you do, I would like to see that discussed in open session and understand why philosophically you make the decisions you make. So even if you don't feel that it should go on the agenda because you don't necessarily think it's relevant, I think if one of these board members has an item that gets to the board president, or even if you have a citizen that makes a request, your superintendent in consultation with your board president can make a determination to put something on the agenda, knowing that it may fail, but for the public good, people need to hear things. So I encourage you to really look at agenda preparation in consultation with the board president, and as things come forward, consultation means discussing with an expert, asking for opinion, and usually that means coming to some mutual agreement on what goes on the agenda. Also, in reference to this policy, there's insertion of language in there regarding a committee. That's very common for school boards to have a subcommittee of a board to discuss things, but again, in the goal of being transparent and supporting your community, you heard some people here say that they feel that meetings are held separately and that people can't get to them. I work full-time, I can't get to an 8 AM meeting. Maybe other families can, other individuals can. But I would certainly like to see some of these things discussed in an open meeting rather than in a committee. You can, per the law, do that, have a subcommittee of the board decide on things. But if it's controversial or something that's going to make people think or ask, I encourage you to be open and have a dialogue and actually bring that to the full board so that everyone can hear the opinions of those that might have different viewpoints on policies. Thank you.
Any other public comment on this policy?
I would certainly hope as a newcomer that things would be able to be out in the open, and I would like to know what goes on. It seems that I'm maybe not in on everything, but it seems that there might be some problems. I'm hoping that it's an open board and that I would be welcome to know anything that goes on.
That is the case.
Very good. I'm happy to know that.
Any public comment? Or questions?
Uh,
I have a discussion. Okay, have a discussion.
Why did we move that the agenda would reflect the district's vision and goals and the board's focus on student learning from agenda preparation?
I believe it's an overall concept.
Is it making it more difficult for someone to get an agenda item
No,
on the board?
that's only, that's a general comment stating what the meeting, what the agenda will address.
Well, it comes from,
It's very inclusive. It's very inclusive, is the way I read it.
Because it to me, it
But we're having
refers to the.
discussion, so we're gonna discuss it, we need a motion.
Second.
Peggy, okay.
I
see that as being an inclusive statement, that what we put on agendas will reflect the district's vision, goals, and the board's focus on student learning. That
It's just
should
moved
cover
from-
everything that we are about.
it seems to me that the government code section 54.3, they want members of the public to
Do
directly
you have
be.
a copy so we can reference that ourselves as you speak to it?
No, I don't.
Finish
that-
Yeah,
that
give it to Victoria, so she.
they're saying that it is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body, but they want anything to be able to appear on the agenda that's a matter of jurisdiction for us. This seems like it's
Could you
more
pass
narrow.
that over and Victoria will get us a copy so that we can, it's hard to discuss it if we don't have the same reference point.
Do we put it up on the screen or do you want me to?
I do wanna comment that the paragraph that was added about committees, it comes out of the Brown Act. So it does come out of our Brown Act. We don't generally have committees with 3 board members, so it highly unlikely won't be part of ours. But that paragraph comes out of the Brown Act. So we didn't add it arbitrarily. So I wanna make sure that's clear, that is,
You're reflecting paragraph 3?
yes.
Okay,
Because I actually want to.
well, that, now I have a comment if you're discussing
Yeah,
that,
I mean, we
because
don't
I think
have
it's,
committees like that,
it's, well, we have had it.
Oh, we have, so not in my term,
Well, we
but
had a policy committee, we changed it to do what we do now, which is a policy workshop, so all board members and all of our administrative assistants, superintendent, and our attorney are present, so it's a full board discussion.
Oh,
And it's a
okay,
public meeting,
okay.
and I think our public meeting was recently referenced in both of our local newspapers. So I don't know,
End of last-
I mean,
end of last
we can take it under consideration to go back to doing call outs. We have had people come to those meetings, I know it's, over the years, I've heard criticism of evening meetings, too late in the evening, students start too early, people are helping kids with homework, I mean, it's really hard to have a time that fits for everyone.
Well, and I think.
But wait a second, but I wanted to comment, this has been put out recently as a limiting factor, and we have not had this as a practice, and I referenced the meetings on the calendar, that our practice has been so that no one feels that they can't speak, that we have speakers speak at all those meetings, and they basically said the same thing. Well, all that allows is this, that if they had appeared, and it has to be, that's been a recent issue, I'm sure most of you read about it in the paper, there was some place where the board, all the members were not at the committee meeting, and so then they just disallowed the speaking at the next meeting. We don't have that as a practice anyway, but if we're all there, then this provides you the chance to do that, to say, we listened to 20 of you at the last meeting, and we still have that, we have our notes, we have a point of reference, and so we're going to let 10 additional people speak tonight to that issue. As I said again, that hasn't been our practice here, and I've supported that for years, because to me, it's better to spend the time and make sure that everyone feels they're heard, whether they spoke at the last meeting or the one before that on the same topic. So even though this is allowed, it appears in here because it is allowed, but it's not our practice. And I know it's recently been publicized that we're putting this in here to limit input, and that is not the case. And that really needs to be clarified.
I'd like to point out to, what's up on the screen is referenced, Ed Code 54.954.3. And if you actually read what, Member Wolf actually just read is B in the Ed Code. Verbatim. Is what's here. So that's verbatim. I think just for clarification, related to the agenda prep, the reason the move of, in response to Member Perry's question, each agenda shall reflect the vision, goals, and board's focus on student learning. That relates to content at the top, and then there's the preparation, which refers to the preparation of the agenda, which, as pointed out again in the education code here, that and it's reflected on page 162, that the subject matter jurisdiction of the board is what's reflected there. So that statement related to subject matter jurisdiction of the board is still in here, and that's what's specific to the education code component. So, and if they call it government code, it's reflected on Member Perry's statement, but it's actually Ed code is what. I'm sorry, it's government code chapter 9, so it's maybe so.
And I did want to say that at our meeting, when we have the workshops, I like them in the morning because we're all fresh and can think and write about these more complicated issues. But I also like the fact that in such a different format than Jen and I experienced when I first got aboard, is that we have an attorney present, we have representatives that these policies fall within their areas of expertise, and it allows the aspiration of the board to be aligned with the law and their expertise, right? And I think it makes a better policy. And I think in any hesitation we ever have about should something be on policy, is that the attorney's not here tonight to answer certain questions, and it was just whether, when it comes to legalities and whether, because there's nothing noted in the legal references, right? And we wanna make sure that whatever we're seeing here is noted in legal references.
So I have a question. In the agenda preparation, if, for instance, the superintendent doesn't want something on the agenda and the board president does, how is that solved, or vice versa?
It's
Okay, we
brought
have
to
that
the
in
board,
here.
it's brought to the board and the meeting.
No, when they develop the agenda, and we get this agenda, I mean, when they're in their own meeting developing the agenda,
Well, it's
how
not,
do they solve that?
it's all these folks that are in agenda preparation. They're presenting their agenda items.
So if you don't want something on the agenda, what happens? If you as the board president don't want something on the agenda, what happens?
The current policy would read that the board member, aka the president in that instance, would bring it to the board majority at the next meeting to discuss as adding it to the agenda. It's reflected page 162, paragraph 3.
And would it be the same way if Dr. Valoria did not want something on the agenda?
And there was disagreement between the board president
So it would just come to us the following time?
to determine
Come to the governing body
president.
to make the decision.
Okay.
I think that's what, when Jan was speaking to, that we all have that same power, we all have that same power putting things on the agenda, that's what it meant, so even in those disagreements, it's still the whole, board.
And then it also seems a little bit confusing on the second page. We use the term subject matter jurisdiction, but in other areas that only applies to oral statements, to public comment.
Where are you?
I'm on the second paragraph,
On what page?
board president.
Second paragraph.
Superintendent shall decide whether a request from a member of the public is within subject matter jurisdiction of the board and directly related to school district business. I guess my question is, why isn't it just directly related to school district business?
Isn't that site-based stuff? Like that might be a site-based, or that's my thinking.
That's what,
Subject matter that the board deals with versus actual school site.
that's what Mark gave the example of.
That's what was the example I recall in the policy
Yes.
workshop.
And it's, he added the cases, it's the Mooney versus Garcia, and so Mooney versus Garcia was when a parent was upset that Rainbow Day was exclusively, I think it was to LGBTQ, and she wanted it to be more inclusive and wanted it to become she wanted to become some other inclusive.
The case law was that.
And it's an entire case about, she brought up that she wanted it on the agenda for the board, and the board kept saying that's not under our jurisdiction, and it was like one of 14 high schools, you know, that's the high schools, right, and it was a student desire, right, and so it was, you would have to bring that back, students at the high school would have to bring that topic, right, and so that's what that is, that it matter of jurisdiction, that's not just like a top of the wall thing, or just a belief.
That's the way Mark explained it.
Okay. In most cases, we talk about the subject matter jurisdiction when people are talking about a topic.
Oh, this is about agenda prep though?
No, I know,
Oh,
but
okay.
that's why it's confusing.
Oh, gotcha, okay, yeah. This is under agenda.
Are you wanting to make a different recommendation? Is that?
I just wanna make sure that this is not more restrictive. I know we don't get that many agenda items from community or anyone else, and to restrict it more, I don't want that.
We can't restrict it to Brown Act, is what dictates us then, like,
No, I'm talking about
The first sentence on the first page.
sentence. I I think that should still be down on agenda preparation. Like it was.
But that says agenda content versus agenda preparation.
From what I hear you saying, I would think you want it under content, because preparation is how the content gets there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're defining what the content should be.
I liked it when it was much more open. And it didn't have to it's going to reflect our vision and goals. We already have those written somewhere else. I like when it's just within the subject matter jurisdiction of the
We could
board.
just move it back, the sentence back down to the agenda preparation. Each agenda shall reflect, because that was in there before.
Right.
So it still existed in the policy.
Right.
To me, it fits better in content. When you're looking at a bylaw and you're trying to make it effective writing, easily understandable, to me it fits better with content, but it was sitting under agenda preparation, so the statement has existed as a bylaw, a part of the bylaws.
I realize that.
Yeah.
I liked it in agenda preparation.
Before, because this is.
It's exactly the same, CSBA moved into content, so I just
Oh.
followed, CSBA made the change,
Okay,
and we followed.
their recommendation.
Correct.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of, well, for instance, when a group of people came and were unhappy about the trees and wanted the agenda to have it, they wanted a discussion about the eucalyptus trees. That wouldn't be part of the district's vision, it wouldn't be part of our goals, it wouldn't focus on student learning.
Yeah, it is part of the vision. It's part of our property and how our facilities look, absolutely.
It's part of our vision statement.
It's part of the vision of beautiful facilities that are well maintained, that's under the LCAP, for sure, yeah.
But they weren't talking about the beauty of.
Well, not the beauty, but the appearance and how they're situated and then whether they are deciduous, I know all those things matter. That's my thinking.
Fire.
But that's also part of our,
It wasn't
that's part of
about
our
beauty.
vision.
So if
It's part of
somebody brought that,
safety.
if somebody brought that up,
Yeah.
you would say that applies.
Yeah, it's part of the safety. To me, it's a really holistic statement, that's the way I interpret it, and yours might be a little
Okay.
different.
I was interpreting
To me,
it.
it's every facet
narrowly.
of an education system, whether it's the sprinklers, the bathrooms, the curriculum, the
Okay.
teachers, you name it, the students, their success. So that's my interpretation, but if you would like it differently, then that's. I'm fine with it in either location, so.
So what's the consensus? Do you want moved?
I'm just looking,
She's looking at something.
We don't have to.
So before it just said directly related to school district business.
That's more restrictive.
That seems more restrictive. That's more restrictive to me.
Because this is our,
How would it be? Give me an example.
of school district business. That
How
just-
something
that
that might be on the agenda would fit into school district business.
Well, school district business versus their vision, versus the board's
The vision might be something that's
aspirations and
expanded.
visions versus just what goes into business items, right?
I guess I have a broader interpretation of school district business.
Right. I mean,
Maybe it's just
I would be fine moving it back to what it used to say and moving that sentence back into agenda preparation, that's suitable to me.
But now you're recommending changing the sentence, is that correct?
To the original sentence, I think, which was, what was it?
The board meeting agendas would be directly related to school district business.
Is that what it said before?
I don't have it exactly.
Usually we have it striped.
I copied the end of
New business items for meetings. Agenda, so this one says board and trustee meetings agenda shall state the time and place and shall briefly.
The information that you're asking, do you want it brought back as the first reading again, or do you want it?
I'm gonna put up on screen
Wait.
what it says, the current one.
Yeah, statement meeting time and session. So that sounds like you're already getting into the design of the content.
First
Pretty
sentence in the second paragraph.
Basic facts.
Yeah, versus putting the governing board's vision as the first thing, set the agenda.
Well, we brought this back a couple times, so it's changed from our.
Okay.
It's
So
just
these
like
are, a lot of these are CSBA's recommendations for this, updating this.
Well, wait a minute.
My goal is just to have it not be less restrictive than it was before.
Let's not talk about.
I don't see it as any restrictive, but if I see the new as not restrictive at all, and
Well, that
this
doesn't
is just
talk about
a little more businessy.
Yeah,
That's hard, that's still,
it's still in there.
Yeah, it's still in there,
I kinda like this.
because that's required.
I was thinking since both things were in there, that the first made it more, was adding more restrictions. You said something.
I think it's less friendly to just start off with that.
Well, I'm not looking for friendly as much as I'm looking for people to be able to put an agenda item on the agenda.
I guess,
This
is the
doesn't-
request to
this-
delete that sentence altogether and no longer have it state, because in our current policy, it states that the agenda shall reflect the district's vision and goals and the board's focus on student learning in agenda prep.
Right.
So is the goal then just to delete that sentence altogether from the agenda bylaw?
No, to put it down in agenda prep.
To return it to agenda prep, and then have the first paragraph remain the same one that's up there. With the facts of date.
Date, meeting, place, time,
Yeah.
that's
That's fine.
I don't know that it makes a difference where
Yeah,
it's located.
that's fine with me.
So,
If you feel more comfortable with that.
Okay, we'll bring it back. Second reading with that sentence moved from agenda content to under agenda prep.
So you want the first
The first sentence.
sentence, you want the statement that's on screen reinstated.
Yes. And then that sentence put back
Back,
into
right.
agenda prep.
Okay.
That's striped.
That is the sentence we have here, the second sentence.
Right.
Okay. Caitlin? Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries 401. Next item, bylaw 932.
Can I recommend that we-
Go with the-
You have to announce it? Okay.
Board bylaw 9323.3, a new bylaws, censure of individual board members for improper conduct. And so if somebody wants to make a peremptory recommendation, so before we take a public comment, is that?
When do you?
I just want to frame this as this was distributed to us by board member Perry and asked that we consider it at our policy workshop, so it was considered a policy workshop, that's why it's coming as the first read. And but you would prefer to have
I
all
would
five
prefer to
board
move it
members?
when board member Kelly is present, all five of us. Oh. Yeah, so I move we postpone this matter.
just moving.
Yeah.
That's just a second.
I second.
Yeah.
Because I think it's still needs public
We
comment.
want all board members to be present to discuss this,
So you wanna bring it back for first read on April 23rd?
Yes.
when he is
And
present.
he's present.
Any public comment on this? Questions?
What did you just do? We're not sure.
Member Wolf asked that we consider this item when all five members are present, because it's a new bylaw and it was discussed at our policy workshop. As I said before, it was brought to us by member Perry and asked us to consider it. So, but member Wolf asked that we have all five members here, so it will be brought back at the meeting in April.
that you still take public comment on?
Yes, because it's on the floor. Because you had to motion and second it for us to bring it back as first read. Thank you. Caitlin?
Yes.
All board members? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries 401. Next action item is item 26, approval, purchase, and installation of wireless access points, cabling, and network electronics. Mr. Morrison. Got a lot of wire. Wiring tonight.
Thank you, President Vickers and members of the board, and for considering this item. This is to an opportunity we have to get E-rate discounts on our wireless network. We purchased the wireless network 5 years ago, so that's how long it's been in place. And this network would allow us to replace the cabling, but also some of the switches and the actual access points, which are the 3 antenna things there. We're going to replace those in the classrooms. It will give us the ability to have more connections, faster connections in the classroom. So I think it's a good opportunity for us, and I brought it to consider for approval.
Thank you. Public comment on this item? And board questions? Motion please. So second. So Peggy, any discussion? It's for all the sites, right?
It's for all the sites. The E-rate discounts don't cover the district office. It's only where students are.
Oh, okay. Thank you. It's good savings plan. Yeah. Caitlin? Yes. Board members, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carries 401. Item 27, approval agreement for internet services from Cox Business Services to provide internet access to district office. Mr. Morrison.
This is another E-rate discounted item that we have an opportunity to take advantage of. It is the internet access for, this isn't just for the DO, but it comes out from the DO because all the sites come here. So they come here first and then they go out to the internet. So it's the speed is not needed to be increased, but this allows us, because this is a 5-year term, to increase the speed in the middle of the term and still receive the discounts. So we have, right now we're only at about 60% of our speed, but if we have a need to increase that, we could to the internet.
Thank you. Public comment on this item? Any board questions? A motion please.
Second.
Vicky, any board discussion? Thank you for all the work that, you got a lot of work goes into this, I know that, and it's, we're massively connected in this district, so all the conversations about curriculum offerings, how much is online and how much is utilized, it's vital, so thank you.
And appreciate,
Further discussion?
appreciate all of your staff and the work that goes into.
Yeah, I have to thank Brian Hertzing, he put a lot of work into this, so.
Is that
Yeah.
very
Caitlin? Yes. Board members, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carries 401. Item 28, approval agreement to purchase a network link to Orange County Department of Education for Business and Human Resources System.
This one is not E-rate discountable, unfortunately, but it is needed. We are moving to a new business system, and so with that system, it's more of a graphical interface. The current system we have is really text-based, and so as we move to the system, this would increase our speed about 7 times with what we have now, and our speed right now is very slow. So it's just minimal enough to get by, and they even have some slowdowns with our current link. It's a very old link, so this will help the business team.
I know slow.
And it also supports the HR system too, so it'll support both systems, because both go to the county.
Public comment? Any board questions? Motion please.
Second.
Peggy, any discussion?
I just have to say that Mr. Dixon, Jeff was very, very helpful in answering questions for me about this, because I really try to decipher it, right? And I don't know why I thought it was just. I apologize,
Thank you, Jeff, for doing that.
G-work. Let's get G-work, thank you for the G-work.
Caitlin? Yes. Board members, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carries 401. Item 29, approval agreement for network services from Cox Business for a term of 3 years with 2 separate 1-year renewal terms for a total of up to 5 years. Mr. Morrison.
Okay, this is a similar item, but this is the actual connections from here to the site. So those links, This also allows us to increase those links midterm in the 5-year term, if we decide to do that. And so it's a 3-year with 2 1-year renewables, and it is also available for an E-rate discount of up to 40% based on our free and reduced lunch. One of the things that, if you calculate all these together as far as the budget impact, I did the numbers on it, and it's only about $6,000 more for all of these services, even increasing both of the speeds. So these actually, some of these went down in price, but we're increasing access for the studs.
Thank you. Public comment? Any more questions? Motion please?
So moved.
Second. Peggy, any discussion?
Thank you for all the work and all of us. And the details, it was very helpful to understand.
Thank you.
Discount is
Cost
great.
savings.
Yes.
Caitlin? Yes. Board members, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carries 401. Item 30, approval agreement for contracted services with HDL, Corin and Cone to perform property tax forecasts and information services for not to exceed fee of $8,000. Mr. Dixon.
Thanks, President Vickers. As you know, last year was the first year we used a property tax forecasting consultant, Uni Services LLC. At the same time, we also got a proposal from HDL Corin and Cone. These are the 2 larger firms that we're able to research and get proposals from. So this year we're wanting to work with HDL in lieu of Muni Services to compare their multi-year forecasts so that we have more experience in going into our second year before we make a recommendation on potentially a 3rd year of using the property tax forecast consultant.
Public comment? Any more questions? Motion please?
Second.
Peggy, any discussion?
Just a big thank you for the forecast, for doing this, so we can forecast budgets and stuff and everything else that affects negotiations with all of you.
It's very important.
Yes, very, very
Very
important. Thank you.
Caitlin? Yes. Board members, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carries 401. We come to our last agenda item, board member requests for items for future meetings, requests for information or general comments. And again, just a reminder that we all tended to slip into discussion at the last meeting on this item, and that is not what it's for. So, Caitlin, we'll start with you.
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Okay.
I have a question. Are we going to put the weighted grade discussion on the next agenda? There's a lot of additional information for this.
We haven't set the agenda yet, we have agenda preparation, however, the intent is to have it potentially on the next agenda. I don't know to what extent staff will prepare anything specific. We'll wait to get additional board feedback necessarily on that item, but we did hear some questions that we might be able to gather in between now and then to potentially provide. So, yeah, we have an agenda prep, but obviously we did receive a request, so we'd like to honor that.
That comes as information item.
It would come as information.
So I have a few things I just want to state. So I wanted to acknowledge that in the paper lately, Governor Newsom is adding a lot of mental health funding for students. And I wanted to thank Dr. Valoria because 3 years ago, he saw the need for social, emotional, and mental health support for students, so we are far ahead of the curve. I want to thank Dr. Keller and his team. I think we have really gotten into an area that is a major focus now in the state, and we're already ahead of it. So thank you for that. I also want to thank the superintendent, the cabinet, and the staff because we get very long, detailed weekly updates as board members. It covers a breadth of subjects and areas. I feel like it gives us a vast knowledge of the things going on in the district because we are not here on a daily basis unless we have kids and then we might be at a school site. So I just want to thank you for all the hard work that takes. I also wanted to share that I really enjoyed Thought Exchange as a parent. It's not a scientific survey or anything, but I enjoyed seeing what people said, commenting on it myself, doing my little stars, things like that. It was nice to see the chatter. People were also polite and thoughtful, which was really nice, and my daughter also enjoyed it. I also just want a reminder that seems to be out there in our community. This board operates as a governing board of 5 people. We are all equal, we all have a voice, and that voice is our vote. And to demean that somebody is less equal is not respecting each of our votes. We each have a vote, I respect everyone's vote here, but I feel like out in the public right now, there's a lack of respect for some of us who have a different vote. And so I just say, we are a majority rules governing board, that majority decides a decision. And we are thoughtful people who are transparent and invest in the school district on a regular basis.
I feel like I'm talking way too much last meeting, so all I'm gonna do is share that tomorrow, this is for me. Tomorrow, from Community Coalition, they were sharing how to build resilience in today's world through Real Talk. Who had someone sitting on that same committee. That's tomorrow night from 6:30 to 8:30. And then I wanna just piggyback right on to Peggy's comments of thanking all of you, all of the administrators, all the people who attend the meetings, all the people who care about the kids, especially to Dr. Gloria and Victoria for helping not only all the preparation, but keeping us in our lanes, providing information. I really appreciate it. And for all of my fellow board members who come here and spend our time together and really spend a thoughtful, thorough amount of time researching things and bringing different expertise. That's all I have. And it's with the other things I had, I was going Rebecca didn't mention, I didn't think it made any sense to cover it all now until you hear it, right?
When it gets, I would be curious to know feedback on the presentations that were provided to the DLAC parents with their speaker, and how, if they solicited any comments from them, or how that, what they took away from that. But only when it's here. I'm appreciative of our teachers working on piloting the various programs. I know it's extra work to do that, and I know that over the years, our teachers here really pitch in and do the extra work. Some take on more tasks than others, but to change curriculum and to adopt textbooks is really a lengthy process. And so I'm really, there's a lot of work from your area this time, and I appreciate what they give to us to make their instruction the best it can be for their students. And I heard that tonight talking about, that's particularly with history. And the students and so much to read, that to be able to cut through some of that and to recognize that as an issue for students is, I commend that. They have a tough time with all that they need to get done. That's all that I have. Our next regular meeting will be
the letters.
Oh, that's right. Thanks, Mr. Bishop, for reminding me. I support sending these letters. I know that it was explained to us that the timeliness didn't allow us to put them on the agenda because it was already prepared, and we need to support this. I think, for me, ever since we became basic aid in this district, we have always reached out to support the global concept of education in this state and the funding for other districts, because we are fortunate here with the way the basic aid funds us, and other districts are really struggling and can't provide nearly the things that we can provide. So we've always made an effort to put our voice behind the support of everyone in the state. Anybody else think of that?
No, really.
Consensus to send these? That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, our next,
Community
funding, I
Community
said,
funding,
let's start with basic.
It's okay, the schools for some finance people, they told us to change it to community funded, still call it basic aid. In their own presentation, so we got that.
Now I'm calling it community aid, we'll slowly get over to community funding.
It was more basic when we started.
It was more basic.
It was just, yeah. Our next regular meeting is Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019, 6 p.m. here in the board room. I have a motion to adjourn. So,
second.
All in favor? Okay, let me get some vote on this.
Oh, yes.
I will add that as a comment. I appreciate you coming and being here for the whole meeting.
Oh,
Yes, I think it's very.
All in favor? Aye.
I'm excited to see you, Jen.